back to Wildwood Cottage Diary and welcome back to my garden in Wales. It's a bit of a murky day today. We've had some beautiful sunshine this morning and today I've decided it's the day then I'm going to do my seeds. I've done my potatoes and yeah, I want to get my seeds started as well. So the weather's starting to warm up a bit here. We're not forecast any more frosts. And I thought it was a good opportunity while it's warmed up a bit to get my seeds started. I started my broad beans the other day and they're just starting to come up through the soil, so I'll show you them in a bit. But I thought I would start my parsnips, my leeks, some carrots, some turnips, and I thought that I would do them in pots and give them a head start because the mice here are quite prolific and the voles, and everything I put in the soil they eat. And I'm not sure if we've had rats coming through the garden as well because all my potatoes disappeared last year. So what I've decided to do this year, I don't know if it'll work but I'm going to give it a try anyway, is I'm going to try doing them in pots and then transplanting them into the soil once the soil warms up and dries out. Because if I put seeds in the soil here at the moment, they're just going to sulk, they're not going to do anything. And I'm going to be wasting my money and wasting my seeds. So I'm going to go back to the way I used to do things when I had my allotment and I had my greenhouse. And yeah, I'm going to start doing things in pots again. And then once they get big enough, they can then go out in the garden and they'll have a fighting chance of producing me some food. So yeah. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed my news the other day about my polytunnel. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm just organising what I want and where I'm going to put it and how it's going to work in the space that I've got for it. So hopefully that's going to be coming up in April. But I will be taking that video down that I did when I was talking about building one for £100 because I'm not going to do that now. It's not worth it here. I get too much wind here and they've got really big trees in the garden and I was far too worried that if I put all that effort into building it that a big branch would fall off the tree, smash the whole thing to pieces and I'd have to start all over again. And the plastic was nearly £100 and I didn't want to waste that money and I didn't want to waste my time with it only being me that's doing anything in the garden and growing food and things. It's not me and my husband that's doing this big garden, it's just me. And I have to work out where my time is valued the most and try and assess what I'm going to do. I have to realise that I can't do everything and sometimes it's just easier to get the right thing in the first place and then I can enjoy using it and not have that worry in the back of my mind that it's going to get crushed if a branch falls off the tree, because in these trees behind me here the branches can be as big as tree trunks the higher up they are. I mean, they're a good 12 inches across and if one of them falls off onto a wooden structure it's just going to flatten it, so it's just not even worth it. I put it off for 2 years. We moved in here 2.5 years ago and ever since we moved in I've wanted to do the polytunnel. I cleared the area the first year we were here when I sorted out where the chickens were going and yeah, it's just not been in my mind to think, do you know what, I'm going to go and do it today. But then when I sold that knitting machine and I got some money from it and I thought, you know what, I'm just going to go and buy one and go and get it done and then I can use it this year, grow some food, get some food on the table and stop the faffing about. So I feel a lot better. I feel like I've made my peace with that. I can't do everything. I have to realise I can't do everything and I have to realise where my time's most important and where it isn't. And for that, for me, building a polytunnel that I know is going to get flattened in the wind, just not worth my time. So yeah, my time's precious, my time's valuable and there is only me doing it. There is only me doing this garden, building this garden, doing it from the ground up. And yeah, it is hard work. So as I say, I have to work out where my time is best prioritised and for me it wasn't building a polytunnel. So I'm going to take that video off my channel. But it was possible to do it. I could have done it. I had all the wood. I'd scavenged all the wood. I'd saved it from the building that was done on the house when they renovated the house before we moved in. And the landlord said that I could have any scrap that I wanted. The builders didn't want it. So I squirreled all that away with that in mind of building the polytunnel. And it's just sat there and sat there. So what I'm going to do with that wood is I'm going to put that towards the barn conversion and put that towards converting that space into a weaving space for my weaving looms, because I think that'll be better spent. I've got enough wood probably to do the roof and the front frame to put the windows in. I've got a window to put in. Well, I've got 2 windows to put in. I just need a door, and I'm thinking of taking the door off the shed down the garden and trying to get something else for that shed, or see if I can get a double door. So yeah, it's got to be in keeping with the age of the building, because the building is original to the house, which is about 130 years old, 140 years old. So I want to keep it sympathetic to that. So that's my future plans going forward. So that was my exciting news about the polytunnel. I'm very excited about it. I can't wait to order it, and it'll be ordered within the next week or so. So once I've worked out that I can do it, that it will fit, that it will work, I'll then invest the money and wait for it to arrive. So that's really exciting. So anyway, after all that said, it's time to move on to seeds, because what I'm thinking is I'm going to sow what I can in here, get it growing, and then once the polytunnel's up, it can all get transported down to the polytunnel. The tomatoes can go in, the cucumbers can go in into the ground, and I'll have a head start, because I've got quite a bit of bench space in here now. After sorting this out the other day, and as I say, I did a video about that the other day, about putting the bench up and getting that sorted. So I'll put that in the I button up there for you. But I've got a shelf in here. I've also got 2 polystyrene boxes. I'm looking that way because they're outside there. 2 polystyrene boxes. I'm going to put glass over the top and a couple of bricks on to keep the mice out. Use them as propagators. And yeah, get sowing some seeds. So I'll show you what I'm going to be sowing. Excuse me, it's getting a bit warm. It's getting rather warm in here. I think it's because I've got wellies on. But what I thought I'd do is, I've got these leeks. I've got some organic leeks, so they're going to go in. I've got these really old seeds of turnips, and rather than waste them, I've decided to sow them. Purple top Milan, and they should have been sown by 2012, so they're 11 years out of date. But I thought, you know what, it might be worth giving them a try and see if they grow. So I'm going to try them, because it's only early in the season. If they don't grow, it doesn't matter. I've got some Swiss chard to put in. I've got some red kale to put in. Some blue Scotch curled crinkle leaf kale. I've got some rainbow chard. Some parsnips. And I've also then got, if I can get them out the bag, I've got my cucumbers to go in. These ones actually can go outside, but I want to grow them indoors. I've got 2 different types of cucumber, so I'm going to sow them. And I may not get them all done today, maybe tomorrow, but I just thought I'd show you what I'm getting started this weekend. And then every few days then, I'm going to start doing something different. I've got some chilli seeds to go in, and I kept these out of an organic pepper last year, whether you can see them, so in there. So they're going to go in a pot and see if I can get them to grow. So they've been drying out over the winter in the cupboard. I've got some sweet pepper, some bell pepper. I've got some red cherry tomatoes. I've got some yellow stuffer tomatoes. And I've got those tomatoes, tumbling tomato for baskets. And what I've just realised is I haven't got anything for bottling. It says this one's a heavy cropper. These are off the Gardener's World catalogue, so I might have a go at them. But it looks like I'm going to need to get some tomatoes seeds for the bigger tomatoes for doing into jars, because I want to preserve them for the winter and make my own tomato sauces, because I'm finding that the tinned tomatoes are aggravating my digestion. So yeah, I'm finding it very difficult at the moment digesting anything processed in a tin or in a packet. So yeah, so they're what we're going to be doing. So I'm going to be doing those today. And then I've also got some peas to do, some radishes to do. These are their winter ones, but I have got some summer ones as well. Where are we? I've got some ordinary red ones. I've got those ones. And I've got those ones. Now, early on in the season, I'm just going to try sowing old seeds and see how we got on. So I thought that I'd get a head start with some of the older seeds, and if they grow, they grow. If they don't, they don't. If they haven't come through in a week or so, then I'm going to do more seeds, and it'll only be the end of March and I'll still have enough time. So the only other thing I've got to do is beetroot and carrots. So we're going to have plenty to be going on with. Right, what I'm also going to be doing is, bought these today for the week, and these are shallots. Now, when I did shallots last time, they just didn't grow. I think the garden was too damp when I planted them. So I've got shallots, and I've got some really healthy onions as well. I got these in the feed shop where I got my potatoes from, and another bag of potatoes. So I got these yesterday, and they were only about £2, I think. Excuse the rustle a sec. And I got that really big bag. I got 100 onions, and I counted them out myself. And it works about 2 onions a week, because we don't eat a lot of onions in our house. I can't digest them, so unfortunately I'm at that age when I can't digest certain foods anymore. So yeah, and my husband doesn't mind not having a lot of onions. We tend to have leeks instead of onions. They're a bit strong for me, but I thought I'd try growing my own, because I thought, well, if I grow my own, it might be the chemicals that's on the onions, on the shop bought ones, because we can't get much organic food here. So I thought what I'd do is I'd start them off in pots. So I'll show you the pots. Now I've just got these ordinary cell trays, and there are 24 cells, and I thought with the shallots, I could just do one, and one in each cell, one in each tray, and that'll just give the roots a chance to get going, and then once they start producing green shoots and the soil warms up a bit in April, I'll pop them in the soil. But it'll just give them that head start as if they were in the ground, and it just means that they're not sitting around in a bag waiting to rot, but they're actually starting to grow. So that's what I'm going to do with them. I'm going to do the same thing with the onions, but I've got these different cell trays. Excuse the rustling. I've got these ones. Now I might fit 2 to a cell in these, so we shall see. Some of the onions are a bit small, excuse the rustle again, but I think I might get 2. I'll get 2 to a cell in these, and these are just things that you get bedding plants in Morrison's. I just keep them, they're too good to throw away. And there's 20 cells, so I'll need 2.5 trays of these. And for this one, I think I've got 50 shallots, so I'm going to need 2 of them. So that's what I'm going to do with my onions. I might do the same with some garlic, but they say you need cold weather for garlic to clove and to divide up, but I might just try it anyway. I've got some organic shop stuff that I got in the supermarket, so I might just put that in instead. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'll just show you me doing them, and then we'll do a couple of packets of seeds, and then I'll just crack on and get things moving, and I'll show you when they start coming up in the next week or so. Right, so I'm just going to use, I've got a little bit of compost from the shop, but I haven't got a lot, and I want to make sure it goes a long way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this spent compost off the tomatoes from last year. There's nothing wrong with it, they didn't have blight, but I just want to put fresh compost in when I come to do I just want to put fresh compost in when I come to do the tomatoes, because I don't like using old compost. They need a lot of fertility, so I want to use good compost when the tomatoes actually get planted to produce tomatoes to eat. So I'm going to use a thing of spent compost. It's this. Pop that in. Now I put holes in the bottom of my pots, and I put these on the surface of the soil. I'll show you that in the video when I come to do the tomatoes, but it just means that the tomatoes have got all that space there to produce roots. So what I can do is I can plant at the bottom of the hole and then earth it up as the tomato plant grows. So that's what I do with my tomatoes, holes in the bottom, and pop them on the surface of the soil. So that's a free tip for you. I get really good tomatoes and I get really good plants, good strong healthy plants doing it that way. So right, so I've got some ordinary Westland compost. Now I don't like using shop compost because they use peat. I try to produce my own if I can, and I'm producing a lot more of it now. I'm giving it to the chickens. They're producing it for me within about 4 weeks. So I'm getting really good compost. Take any big lumps out because you don't want that in your seed compost. You can use that for something else, in your borders or something. I've got to make sure I get all the roots out because I don't want to put roots in. Although the plants are dead, the plants have gone. So we'll mix that in with the Westland compost that's in there. I think it's called Westland anyway. Could be Horizon. Do you know, I can't really remember. Compost been in the bag that long, it stinks. Glad you can't smell it. Right, that's that. So what we're going to do now is we're going to fill our seed tray. I haven't cleaned them because there's only onions going in them. Rather a lot in there. I don't want much compost, I want to conserve the compost. I haven't seen that lady, my neighbour, for ages. Must be a good 12 months. She's just walking through the field on her way home. But I'm talking to you. Hope she didn't think I was ignoring her. The places you get to see your neighbours around here on a walk. Right, like I say, I went for my walk this morning and I had a great time. No idea what that is, but we'll get rid of it. Right, so that's our compost. This one's going to be for my shallots, so I'm just going to plonk them on the top. They're a little bit big, but they'll do. They're a little bit too big for the top of the pot, but they just have to do. Oh, I've got 2 on this one. This just means instead of them going off in the bag, they can start their growing in this pot. As I say, some of them are a little bit big, but if I squish them in, they should be alright. I don't know if she saw me, she might not have seen me, so. Just taking off some of the paper so that it doesn't rot and go mouldy. I can put that in the dye pan and dye some wool with it. Right, so there's one tray. So as you can see, nothing fancy. They're all just in some little soil, in bits of soil. And I pop them in a tray. And that's some shallots. So I'll carry on with them in a minute. There's a big juicy worm there. But enough just to... Incidentally, if anyone has any tips that I could try on how to grow onions in a very wet environment, a very wet climate, please do leave comments in the comments section below. And let me know. So we're just going to put 2 into a cell. These cells are quite long, so I'll easily get 2. Tried to get all the same onions when I was looking through the box yesterday. Oh, that one's a bit big, so we'll put that there. Bit more compost. Like I say, it just gives the roots a chance to root. I'm looking forward to the polytunnel coming. That'll be great. So much more space and be able to start things so much earlier next year. As you can see, it doesn't take a minute. I'm glad you're all enjoying my videos. Thanks so much for all the comments you've been leaving in the comments section below, saying how much you're all enjoying what I'm doing. It's really encouraging to know that so many of you are enjoying my videos and enjoying the content I'm putting together. Let me know as well in the comments section if there's anything you'd like me to share with you, anything you'd like me to show you. Nothing personal, but just anything you'd like me to share from the garden, or tips from the house, or things like that. I'd be happy to try and put a video together for you, give me some ideas. But as you can see, life now has gone from being in the house to being in the garden. I don't spend a lot of time in the house now, I'm more outside. In the winter I'm inside. So there probably won't be much coming from indoors now, it'll probably be mostly outside, unless it's raining. Or I've got a particular job I think you might enjoy. So there's the onions as well. Just starting to rain. Right, so I've probably got another tray's worth. Well, that's not what you came for, is it? That was just a free tip. Right, seed sowing. What you can use is things like this. You know that you get your cupcakes and your muffins in. You put some holes in the bottom. Got a nice little lid on them. Sow your seeds in there and use it as a propagator. That's what I've kept that for. So there's another tip for you. Now, I bought these. Some of them have got holes and some of them haven't. Oh, well, that's because they're trays for water. Oh well. I've got these little trays here. They've got holes in the bottom. So what I like to do is fill them with compost. And to save space, I'll divide them in two. So we'll put a label like that, and that'll just be our dividing line between that side and that side. So if you're doing things like two different types of radish, say, you could do one type in one side, one type in the other, so it looks like that. So I'm going to do I like a lot of leeks, so I'm going to use one tray for all my leeks. So compost soil in. I don't like to use too much soil, too much compost, just enough to get them started. Fluff up the surface a bit, but level the compost out. I'm trying to do a no spend year on compost, so you're just going to have to bear with me with what I use. So I'm going to do, I've got Scotch red kale here. I had some Russian kale in the garden and I'm hoping it's self-seeded itself because it's one I brought from the allotment. Ooh, 9 years ago. I always keep one plant in the garden, but this year I left all the plants in the garden. So, as you know, I can't find the end. See, if I put my glasses on I might be able to see, mightn't I? That's better. Right, there's not many seeds in here. Oh, I suppose there's a few. So we'll do a few. Try and thinly space them apart. Don't like to be too tight, but I don't like to do them too many either. But I like kale, so I don't know if these will grow, but these have been used seeds last year, I think, either last year or the year before. They are organic. That's that one. Now the labels aren't very good, but never mind. So we'll do blue, kale. So that's that one. Put that label in there. The other one we've got is red kale. Same company. I'll try and put a picture in for you and show you what they look like. But they had a sale on their seeds, so I only tend to buy things when they're on offer or they've got a good discount on. Well, there's not many in here at all, so I'm going to use all these. These are the red curly kale. I like the green curly kale in my smoothies. So what I'm going to do with this one, because my labels aren't very good, I'm going to pop that label in there. And that's just the thing off the packet. So we'll pop a bit of compost on the top. Just like that. Flatten it down a bit so it's got contact with the seed, and then you can see if you've missed any. And do the same with the other side. Don't do it too thickly, but enough that when you water it the seeds stay covered, because when the compost settles sometimes the seeds get exposed. That's why you're flattening it, to have contact with the soil, like that. We don't want to compact it so that the seeds can't come through, but just enough, just so the soil has contact. Now I've got some really big trays. I did show you them the other day. It's the propagator that I've got my broad beans in, and they have this is the size of the lid, so you can see how big my propagator is. So I'm going to put a few trays in one propagator. So this one, it's going to get watered in a minute. I'm going to water them all at the same time. So just to save time, I'm just going to show you what I'm doing. Right, so that's the kale. So let's just do the leeks and then I'll let you go. And then next time you come, I'll show you them all in their pot. So let's do the leeks, because I'm going to do a whole tray of leeks, because we eat a lot in this house. I love them. And that's last year's seeds, so... Oh no, it's the year before. Packaged in 2019. These are 4 years old now. That's what the seed looks like. Can you see that? Now to me there's not a lot there, so to you you probably think, oh gosh, that's a lot of leeks, but it's not really, you know. If you have a leek each and then you freeze them and you add them to stews and things, it's not a lot really. I mean, one a week, it's like 52 leeks. If you've got 2 people a leek each, that's 104 leeks. So that's going on 52 weeks of the year. Not that you eat leeks that much in the summer, but you know what I mean. So that's my leeks done. See how easy that was? And again, to save me labels, I'm just going to pop that in like that and pop that in the seed tray. So if you can't afford big trays, you can use these things you get in the supermarket with your mushrooms in, things like that. Just pop some holes in the bottom, pop your compost in, and you just pop your compost in like that. Sow your seeds, pop a plastic bag around it, put elastic band on, and that can be your propagator and your seed tray. So you're doing well for tips today, aren't you? Look at me hair. I've been in the garden, under the trees and all sorts today. Anyway, yeah, you can use pretty much anything around the house, yoghurt pots and things. Oh, I've still got my glasses on. Yoghurt pots for doing things like peas and beans, things that need deep roots. You can use yoghurt pots. You can use the big yoghurt pots that you get your natural yoghurt in. You can use them, just pop holes in the bottom. Any plastic containers like this, large, small ones, doesn't really matter. You can use them, pop holes in, pop them in a food bag or a plastic bag, enough that it can get the light. And yeah, you can use that. This has got holes in already, so I might use this one. Yeah, you can pretty much use anything you want. So I'm going to get on with all my seeds. I'm going to do my tomatoes. I don't do them in that big a pot. What I tend to use is, if I can see them, this type of pot. You can get more to a small space. You can put about 5 seeds in each pot, and you can get growing your tomatoes in these. So you could use yoghurt pots again for these. You could use tins if you wanted, just drill some holes in the bottom and use some tins. Yeah, you can pretty much use anything, any container that you can fill. And if you can get hold of a cardboard box, pop them in a cardboard box or a polystyrene box, and a piece of glass over the top, or a big bag, see-through bag, and you can use that as a propagator. You don't have to spend lots of money. I just bought those because I have a lot of trouble with mice, and I just wanted some tough plastic that the mice wouldn't eat through and they would leave my seeds alone. And they seem to have worked with the broad beans. So do you want me to show you the broad beans before you go? Just a sec. Yeah, they're in this propagator. See, these are really good propagators. They started coming through now. Now I've not watered these and they're actually quite damp. But have you seen the green shoots coming through now? They're really starting to take off. So I've got my ginger planted, and it's got a shoot just there. And this one's got a shoot on it as well, just there. So yeah, things are starting to march on now. I've got 2 different types of broad bean. I've got, where are they? I did Aqua Dulce, this one, which is a heritage variety. And I did this crimson flowered one because I thought they might look pretty in the garden. So yeah, that's my seed. I'm just going to carry on with my seed sowing and wait for my husband to come home, sort out the wood for the fire for tonight, and that will be the end of my day. It's a bit grizzly, it's just starting to rain here. I was hoping to do a bit more on that patch next to the greenhouse, but I really do want to get a start on my seeds, so I'm going to concentrate on that now for the rest of the day. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed my video and hanging out with me in the greenhouse. I've got some nice roses to go in the garden, so I might show you the roses next time in my next video, because I've got some new roses that have just arrived and they need to go in. So yeah, there was a bit of a mix-up, but I'll explain that in the next video. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed my video. If you have, please do like and subscribe. Please do hit that notification bell, and YouTube will tell you when I upload new videos to keep up to date with what's happening on my channel. So thanks very much for joining me today. I hope you have a really good week this week, and I will see you next time. So enjoy the rest of your week, and I will see you soon. So bye for now. Bye bye.